Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bxb'S Bits and Bobs, episode 23. It's another one of our favorite semi-annual podcasts, also known as a sick cast, where at least one of the contributors is feeling under the weather. And today, that's me! Isn't that exciting, everybody? I am tired and ill, and I don't know, is it just because I'm a massive nerd and it's got sunny and nice out, and therefore because of that, I don't feel well? What do you guys think?
I'm getting it as well. I've got a really sore nose, but I don't know if that's because I'm old and I've got an increasing habit of plucking my nose hairs. So it makes my nose skin inside quite vulnerable to infection.
Ooh. The great thing about having a big bushy beard and moustache means I can just grow my nose hairs out and nobody notices.
I can't handle it. I do my ears as well. I pluck my ears constantly.
That's
you got to.
That's why I look so young.
That is.
Don't go outside. It's dangerous. I got sunburnt. I've been outside most of the day. I wouldn't. You've got to time it right. Just early in the morning and late in the afternoon, not midday.
But Joel,
you're safer inside.
You are almost ginger, aren't you? You're not allowed outside.
I'm not. Oh, I've not been called ginger before. I'll have to work on. It might be your. You need to adjust the color on your monitor.
I think what it is I think Richard calls everyone else ginger because he's a big bald twat. So because of that, everybody else with hair is a ginge because he's just got a chip on his shoulder.
I don't mean it disparagingly. I would love to be a ginge. I'd love it.
I am undeniably ruddish in my beard. I'm a lot redder in my beard than I am in my hair, which is weird. But yeah, I'm currently going for a Braun Strowman beard. I'm going to keep going. That's my goal.
Yeah. So, any other aspects of Braun Strowman that you aspire to?
Yeah, being 7.5 feet tall. I'm working on that. I don't feel like I'm getting very far, but I haven't given up yet. Also being as good on the mic. No, hold on, I'm already better. So that's okay. I guess we'll start there. We won't go for too long because Joel doesn't follow the professional wrestling like me and Richard and most other contributors to the website.
Oh, I do know the big news. The big news though.
The Undertaker news.
The Undertaker retiring, which actually made me actually go and look up. Because I read something and it said he's been doing it for 30 years, and I thought, no, he wasn't. He was in it. God, I can remember him being back in it when in the 80s, but I looked it up. He wasn't actually in the 80s.
1990, I think.
Yeah,
was his first.
Yeah. So I did actually watch some WWF back then that didn't have him in it. But right now, I'll let you guys go.
Well, all I was going to say over the last couple of weeks, it's been a cornucopia of above average wrestling, which probably doesn't say a lot about the quality of the wrestling, but it has been pretty decent. And I'm guessing by now, Richard, you're all caught up as well.
Well, kinda. I'm still not as caught up as I want to be. I haven't watched NXT in an age, including Takeover.
Takeover's got the match of the year in it, so you probably should check that out.
Yeah, I will be catching that
seriously.
Up. Don't spoil that.
I'm not going to go into the
card all night for WrestleMania. I watched all of that.
Well, I will say I'm not going to go into the card. And if you would like to listen or watch a podcast that does dissect Takeover and Mania, check out Bxb'S Shoot the Shit episode 2, which went up at the start of the week. Sadly, Richard was not a part of it because he was too tired after staying up to watch Mania. What a big
Too old for this. I don't think I'll be doing it again. 5 hours. That's not normal, is it? 5 hours.
It was about 5:30 in the morning. I got to bed. Yeah, that was intense.
Did you all watch it live?
Yeah, I guess we did. Yeah, me, Adam, Mark, and Richard. We all watched it live. Yeah, because we're loser nerds, which have got nothing better to do with our lives.
Did you get together in a hangout and all watch it together as well, or?
No, we all watched it. I mean, in the Shoot the Shit chat channel that I have, we all were discussing it as it was happening. But no, we were all just watching it respectively, but mostly with our other halves, I think. So that's how bad it is. We've infected our wives with our love for wrestling. What that, that's crazy. Was your wife with you as well, Richard?
No, she bottled it at the end, at the last minute. Didn't go through with it. Just went to bed. So I probably should have done the same. I'd booked a day off the following day just to rest myself. She couldn't get the day off, otherwise she would have stayed up. I do regret not just waiting until the next day.
I mean, I think the coolest thing was the Hardy Boys coming back, personally.
Oh yeah, that woke me up. That's the only thing in the entire event where I actually so I had to say something to recognise this event. Like,
it got a massive pop in my house to use the wrestling term. Me and the wife were jumping up and down about 3 o'clock in the morning with excitement when that happened. That was pretty. It must have been about 3:30. Yeah, it was really, really, really cool.
Awesome.
Overall, though, an above average Mania, one of the best ones in the last few years, like across the card, rather than just like one or two massive spots. It was definitely worth checking out, but I don't want to dwell on it too much because, like I said, we have an entire other podcast for that, and one day Richard might join us on that podcast. No promises, one day. But hey, I think, you know, what else have you guys been up to in the last 2 weeks? In bathroom related news, I now have a fully retiled toilet and bathroom area. I just thought I should mention that.
Do that. Are you jumping on my bandwagon? I haven't even arranged my fitting date yet.
Well, I didn't do it myself. I mean, I'm not as impressive as you guys, clearly, but you know, it had, you know, that's quite nice. However, the plumbers took down the shower curtain rail to do the bathroom and then didn't put it back up. So they've got to come back on Monday because we can't have a shower without that.
So you couldn't put it back up yourself. You've actually got them coming back to put the rail in.
Bitches get paid to do a job. They can come back and do the fucking work. So you know, that's the way it is. That's the way it is. Come on, man. You know, you got to get
a screwdriver.
Value for money, man. It's all about the service. Can't let them get away with that. They get away with murder if you let them get away with that.
You should get what you pay for. Speaking of which, I just ditched my Windows phone. I'm going to segue into that because
go for it.
Do my news story.
That's kind of big news for Richard, actually. Richard, going back years, famously has been the Microsoft of Microsoft fanboys. This is the man who had a Surface, a Windows phone, an Xbox, a PC. You name it, if it had Microsoft on it, Richard has it. So he's thrown the Windows phone aside. This is big news.
Still rocking Microsoft Band 2. Look, I am still.
Did you have one of those?
Ha!
Zoom.
Is that a Zoom?
Yeah, I've got a Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. My kind of guy.
That was where it all began. For me, at least, with Microsoft devices.
And this isn't like a Zune he's got like put away somewhere. This is a Zune he had to hand in his office. So clearly still in use. This is impressive.
No. It's just been in my drawer for ages because I just have my music on my phone. I'm just trying to turn it on to see if it will turn on now.
That's the original model, isn't it? Plastic.
Yeah, the original 30 gigabyte. Yeah.
Wow.
Brilliant.
But anyway, what have you picked up instead? Have you got a new Samsung phone, maybe?
I've got a new Sony Xperia
Sony.
XZ.
Less explosions.
Yeah, less explosions. That was honestly my reasoning. Is this Windows phone? No. Will it explode? No. I'll buy that. So yeah, I've got a new Sony phone. But good thing on my old Windows one, they tried to repair it twice, failed, and I said, I'd like my money back, please. And they actually did it 18 months after I bought it. I've got a full refund. So my new phone is free. Woohoo!
That's pretty good. I mean, you see that, you know, you can't fault the customer service side of that. That's all right.
That's pretty awesome.
Right.
But it doesn't speak well to the future of Windows Phone when I did say, look, I'll have a refund, but I would just prefer you to replace the phone. And they just refunded me.
We don't have any of them left. We don't make those anymore.
So I tried to be loyal. They wouldn't let me. So
do you get like a bonus for staying as loyal as you have? Like, do they give you a kickback or anything like that? Or I'm just trying to work out why.
A letter from Steve Ballmer or Bill Gates.
Well, who is it? Is it something Nadal, isn't it?
I think there's someone else now. Yeah.
Satire. Is it Satire?
Satire Nadal, something like that. Yeah, that sounds about right. I can never remember, but yeah. Mostly you just pay attention to the Xbox stuff. Yeah, look at that. We have got some tech knowledge. You're like Google checked facts. It's all good. Anything else fun from you guys over the last couple of weeks?
Started a new job. It's going well. Right. Cleaned my bike today, so
cool.
I'm going to be riding my bike and getting back out there now. Fair weather's back, so looking forward to getting back out on the trails. So if I'm not in any more episodes, it's probably because I killed myself.
Oh, up and down all the massive hills and mountains you'll find in Cambridgeshire. Yeah, that'll be the show, yeah. Yeah, because it's not like the flattest place on the planet or anything.
No, you do have to travel very far, like at least an hour in any direction to try and find anything.
Weirdly, I actually live on one of the top of one of the hills in Cambridge, around Cambridge, which is one of like 3. So yeah, annoyingly, I do live at one, which is one of the reasons I do not cycle to and from work, because cycling to work would be fine because it's downhill. Cycling home at the end of a long day up the hill, no, I'm good. I'll just get the bus.
So you're at least 6 meters above sea level, probably, if you're on one of the hills. Then.
No, it's a big hill. It's honestly, it's at least 8 meters. So right, yeah, but I haven't got bloody much to talk about. I guess I had 2 weeks off, and I basically spent the entire time playing Mass Effect. So unless anybody's got anything else they wanted to bring up, I will use that as a segue to talk a bit more about Mass Effect.
No, let's go for it. Zelda than you have Mass Effect.
I don't know. Well, I can tell you what my total clock and my single player clock is. Total clock on Mass Effect Andromeda 85 hours. Single player about 65 of those. And I did that in about a week and a half, I think. Yeah. Do you guys see my review?
I have. I watched it.
Yes. Heartbreaking.
Yeah, it was.
To see you to go through that.
Well, I hope I was fair. Like that's the thing. I mean, I admit right at the beginning, I really wanted to love this game. I want this game to be perfect. I wanted Mass Effect Andromeda to be the sequel the Mass Effect franchise deserved. And in quite a few ways it is. I think there's some very good stuff in there, and it's still a lot of fun to be had. However, I'm just borrowing this sort of quote, though it's just a regular saying. It's death by 1,000 cuts. There are so many technical problems present in Mass Effect Andromeda. There was just no way I could score it above 3. I mean, if you took out 90% of those issues, the game would be a much better experience. And we've just had a new patch. This came out this week, which has fixed some technical problems, some of the glassy eye expression problems, some of the character model and animation issues as well have already been addressed. But I think it's already been raised by other outlets, and I think it's very fair to say people didn't buy Mass Effect Andromeda expecting an early access experience. Yeah. That is not right. That a game can be released from a AAA, perspective from a studio that size with that many problems and not get a huge amount of criticism because of it. And I don't have a lot of problems with their animation tech. I didn't have a lot of problems with the way the characters looked or the writing or anything like that. It was things like whenever I was moving around a planet at speed or even just on foot, actually, just hanging constantly, like every minute or two, hang for like a second, between 1 second and 5 seconds, just freeze and then catch up. I also had hard crashes. I had multiplayer disconnects multiple times. Just a litany of technical problems, And I don't want to go on about it too much because I always spoke about it quite a lot on the previous podcast.
Can I just jump in? I can also relate to this. I just checked. I've done 42 hours now. What I think I found is that the more you play the game, the further you get into it, the kind of more these issues start cropping up. I can't recall seeing that many glitches and things at the start, but it certainly feels very like a Bethesda game, and it all starts off quite rosy, but as you spread out into the world, it just deteriorates and deteriorates and deteriorates. The glitches get more and stuff. It's
what I noticed was, like, you start off on the first planet you go to, and it's a fairly barren planet, right? So it's actually one of the smaller, large hub planets, and it's quite empty. When you end up going to places that have got more activity and are larger, like Kadara and stuff like that, that's when the technical problems become more apparent, because I think what that stuttering issue is, I think that's a streaming of content problem. So because you're moving around that location very quickly, it's having to pause to load in that next part of the environment that you're transitioning into. And while it should all be one giant seamless experience, it is like locking up, and you actually kind of like, it'd be nice if it just had a fucking loading screen, because it wouldn't be as jarring almost. And that's I had happened about 3 times where I'd go into a dialogue scene and one of the members of that scene would not load in, and not just their character model, but their dialogue. So you have a situation like I had a scene where there was a flashback with me, my father, my sister in there. The sister didn't load in, so because of that, I'd be like, "Hey, Dad, what do you think of this?" And Dad would be like, "Hey, that's a good idea. Hey, Sarah, sister, what do you think?" "Cool. Glad you like that idea. Let's move on." And it would just be like, they pause for the dialogue, and it would cut. The camera would change to look at the empty space where she isn't loaded in. And these are like story moments, which once you've done them, you can't replay it. It's gone. So you've just lost that, you know, and it just is like, this game is all about that. So I can forgive a little bit of stuttering occasionally, the odd hard crash almost. But when you're actually, you know, your engine is and your technical problems are so prevalent that it's affecting the main meat of the game, the narrative, the dialogue, the characters. Nah, that shit's pissing me off.
That's inexcusable.
Yeah, it just feels like it was rushed. It needed another couple of months. It needed another couple of months polish. What is there? The foundation, the combat is brilliant. The worlds are really interesting. I love the exploration, you know, stuff like that. That's all really, really good. I love that sense of optimism this game has compared to the previous series, which is very dour and serious. It feels like Star Trek. It has that sense of, you know, going into the unknown and being a pioneer. And I really dug all that. And I actually really liked the fact that my crew was a bit younger, that I was a younger character, that I had, you know, that everybody felt a bit fresher and a bit like this is their first time in a lot of these situations. And I thought it was a very different feel. And I really respected that they were coming at it from this different angle. It's not for everybody. Not everybody's not going to enjoy that, but it was a choice. It was a narrative choice that they made, and I think they nail it. And the best bits are the loyalty missions. When you get to those set piece missions with your crew and the main characters on your squad, they are exceptional. Some of those are so good, and they just stand out so much from the rest of some of the open world kind of cut and paste quests, fetch quests, kill quests that you've done a million times before. Thankfully, it's elevated a bit from the mobility aspects and the combat aspects of the game. But then you've got, you know, then you're bogged down because so much of this is in these big open environments. You've got those technical problems I was talking about. So it just highlights those issues. It's a mixed bag, but already, you know, we're seeing improvements with these patches. One of the big improvements being that you can now skip the planetary transitions, you know, so that's pretty cool.
So how far have they come along then? Have they still got a long way to go? Because they've talked about Mass Effect being improved over time.
They're calling it, I don't know if they used the term, they might have used it, but a living game. That's not what this should be. That's not what this is. This isn't like, what would be an example of like a Minecraft or, you know, a survival game, which is like early access and developing over, you know, years with feedback from the customers and stuff like that, feedback from the backers or whatever. That isn't what this is. You expect this fucking game to be finished when you get it. This should be
linear narrative.
Yeah,
essentially, isn't it?
And I got what?
That's a living game.
Look at this. This patch is great, but I beat it already. I've already put 85 hours in. You know what? I am going to do a new. I'm going to do a new game plus. I will start a new game plus at some point, but I need a break right now. It's like, you know, yeah. Joel and Mark were saying, "Hey, do you want to come and play some multiplayer?" A few days ago, earlier in the week, and I'm like, you know what? I'm good. I need to step away from Mass Effect for a bit because I really hammered that shit, you know. And if it was a better game, I might not feel so fatigued from it. But I am kind of wiped out a bit from it. But I'm definitely gonna go back and check it out. But right now I'm into Persona, so I need to kind of like give that some time, and I haven't had a lot of time to do that this week. But we'll talk about that in a bit. But Joel, is there anything else you wanted to add about Andromeda?
So yeah, I've started encountering more and more technical glitches. I've had problems where I've like landed on a planet, for example, and then it showed me and my party on the planet unable to move, and we just stood there for about 20 seconds. Then it suddenly goes back to the animation to show you going down from orbit, landing, and then you appear in exactly the same place, and then you're allowed to move. So it's very buggy. I've had other things as well where I've had characters duplicate. I don't know if I took some screenshots of it. It was really funny. I managed to duplicate my Krogan team member, Drac, and have him in 2 different places in the same room, and you could interact with both of them. It was pretty funny.
You became the Genophage. Amazing.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, very good. But there are some, you know, looking past just the technical aspects of the game. It's ambitious. I think the exploration's greatly impressive. I find the scope of the planets, the environments, and everything. You know,
at times it looks stunning. Like
yeah, amazing. I haven't finished the game yet. I've only, I guess I've got 3. I've only visited 3 of the planets, and I think there are about 5 in total. But yeah, you know, most of the planets repeat the same kind of quests. Everything's the same. You know, it feels very samey now. There are a few variant story missions and stuff, but it's beginning to wear on me in that aspect. It doesn't seem varied enough in the quests so far for me, the sort of missions that you have to do and stuff. So there are other aspects of the game beyond the technical issues that I think cause it. I don't think they'll be able to recover that necessarily. So I think it will. For me, when I saw Ben's review and I read that and it was 3 stars, I thought that's kind of spot on. I don't think it's a bad game. I think it's a good game, but I think it's fallen way past of where they really could have either gone with it or what their expectations were for it. So, have you
fought an architect yet?
Yes, I've done 2 of those. So
because that was surprising to me. That was a cool moment. I'm like, that's basically a hidden thing that there's like these 4 big bosses that are at the ends of quite innocuous quest chains. And that, except for the last one when you get to a planet and it's just roaming around like as soon as you arrive. But the 3 of them are just sort of like, if you didn't go through some basic sort of side quest stuff, you might never actually encounter those. And they're probably I'd say one of the best fights in the game from just a challenging perspective, where you actually have to really think about stuff. I really like that. I think they're a cool spectacle. I really enjoy the architect.
Yeah, I think the first one was quite an impressive reveal. It came out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting it. There's all that sort of unknown adventure because you destroy it to a certain part and then it tries to fly away, and so that was all exciting as it revealed itself and stuff. And then you get to the second planet and it was like you say, you go down these innocuous quest lines that suddenly end up with this like, oh god, I didn't expect that suddenly. But it would have been I guess a bit of variety possibly. I like the way that you couldn't really tell where you're going from the quest lines, but maybe the architects could have been different or have different combat things. If you see what I mean, it's every planet so far that I've encountered has basically, there's a template and each planet is cut from the same template. It's just got a different environment and slightly different layout. That's what I'm finding at the moment.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And it's like the first thing you do to get to a planet is always sort out the reactor, the remnant thing, so that you can make the environment more habitable. So you haven't got to worry about that. And then you clean up enough stuff so that you can get viability, so you can get an outpost. And then when you've got the outpost, you clean up a few more bits until you get 100%, and then you can fuck off. And that is what you do on every planet. I think there is some nice variety to the appearances of the planet and the layouts of the planets. I don't know if you've been to Kadara yet, but that's got a thing that really bothers me, which is that when you arrive at Kadara, you get off the Tempest and you're like in a social hub. But then if you actually want to get to the planet properly, you have to then go through a second load. Now, that might not seem like a problem. However, there are multiple quest lines that require you to go from one planet to another planet to another planet to another planet to another planet. For example, PB's loyalty stuff is a hell of a lot of flying around and going to places for no fucking reason. And it really started to degrade with me. I think in the last podcast, I defended those planetary transitions as I thought they were nice scene setting. They added a nice sort of visual motif to traveling around the galaxy and stuff. Now, but by the end of my 65-hour playthrough, I was like, for fuck's sake, hurry the fuck up! Yeah. So yeah, it did start to really get to me, and I'm really glad you can skip that. That's a really good idea. But like, yeah, I'm asking myself, when am I actually? I'm gonna do an Insanity playthrough at some point, but like, I don't know when that will be. But no, the game, thankfully though, is only going to get better, which is something.
It's a positive for anyone who I think who hasn't played it or is holding off for the Game of the Year edition. I think
like Richard is, for example.
Yeah, I think they'll reap all the benefits of probably what the game should have been. But I suffer from the same thing you do, that I will play it now through to completion, regardless of the issues. I'm very much a completionist, and I probably won't go back to it until later when they do a Game of the Year edition and I can play the extra DLC stories and that kind of stuff.
Right, hold on to your hats, because I'm about to do an amazing segue based off that. So, Richard, come Christmas, January, when you've got your Project Scorpio, I tell you what, the Game of the Year edition of Mass Effect Andromeda is going to look pretty shit hot on that beast, isn't it?
Now that is a good shout, because we were talking last time about how Andromeda was pitched as sort of the next-gen Vanguard, weren't we, for PS4 Pro? That's the game that they showed off the Pro for. So
and in 4K it looks really good in HDR and stuff like that. Well, not in 4K, sorry, in HDR on Xbox One S. Supposedly it looks amazing with the HDR stuff. So yeah, on Project Scorpio Game of the Year, when you've got all the DLC out, of which there's some pretty interesting hooks at the end of the game as to what the first bit of DLC anyway could be, which I'm excited to see what that is. And I'm going to keep playing. I'm going to play the DLC. There's no doubt. But let's use that as a way to talk about the reveal of the hardware specs of Project Scorpio that came out earlier in this week, exclusive to Eurogamer and the Digital Foundry guys. Right. Well, I mean, what's the best way of talking about this? Should we start off with me going through the main bits and how they compare to the PS4 Pro? Would that be a fair basis of me talking quickly some tech specs, and then we'll just go from there? I mean, briefly, yeah, I'm not going through everything.
I'm not too fussed about the numbers side of it. It's more about what they say it's going to do. But yeah, run through it quickly.
Well, I'm not going to like go on about CPU cores, you know, and GPU hertz and all this crap, because what does that mean? I mean, stuff people will understand, right? The Xbox One and the PS4 Pro both have 8 GB of RAM, right? So PS4 Pro's got DDR5, Xbox One only has DDR3. Project Scorpio is going to have 12 GB of DDR5 RAM, right? And everybody knows more RAM means better performance, right? That's an easy one for most people to understand, yeah? The other one is, one thing I was slightly disappointed about is the single terabyte hard drive. And I was like, well, I've already got 2 in my Xbox One S. So I'm actually going to have to take a hit on my hard drive size, which is kind of shit, really, isn't it? But there you go. But also the other thing to bear in mind, that's kind of a big move here, is that the optical drive is going to be the 4K UHD Blu-ray drive, unlike what's available in the PS4 Pro, which is just a normal Blu-ray drive. And I think that's a big deal, because my intention is going to be, at the end of this year, I will be buying the Scorpio and a 4K TV at the same time.
We might want to remind people that the standard Xbox One S has got that drive as well.
Yeah, the standard Xbox One S does indeed have the UHD drive, which means you can play your 4K Blu-rays, or whether you want ultra high definition Blu-rays, you know, straight away. But I think that choice to not put that in the PS4 Pro, considering it's Sony, the people that also make TVs, is a very odd one. I don't know why they didn't put that drive in there. I mean, Joel, you're a bit more technically minded, perhaps. Is there anything, you know, in a way that it's not going to just be numbers that don't really mean anything? Is there anything you wanted to bring up regarding the specs?
Yeah, I think the important thing that I took from it isn't so much the specs themselves. There are some minute details that are quite interesting in the tech specs, which are a little surprising as well. But I think it's more about the philosophy of what Microsoft did. So, you know, they took a big kicking with the Xbox One on the spec side against the PS4. Now, I don't really generally care much about console specs. I tend to buy every console anyway. I play all the games on various consoles. I'm not really have any alignment or loyalty to any one brand. But this time, Microsoft so they not only did they just sort of look at the PS4 Pro and kind of where they wanted to beat that in specs, they've really gone to a deeper level. So they've really the whole system on a chip, basically the SoC in the Xbox One, is very customized. And what they've really done, it seems, is they've worked they've been profiling in very deep detail all their current games and systems and trying to work out where the actual bottlenecks are. You know, now generally in PC gaming, there's large bottlenecks that happen between the CPU and the GPU needing to sync with each other, particularly with DirectX 12, where the CPU has to do all the scheduling for the threads on the GPU and stuff. So normally you take a big CPU hit, depending on, and it depends, AMD and NVIDIA have different approaches on the PC to how this all works. But Microsoft have looked at that, all their current architectures and stuff, and obviously they own the DirectX 12 API as well and stuff, and they've said they've actually got some custom hardware block that they've worked with AMD to design. It's probably based off AMD's hardware scheduler anyway, but this is all the fascinating detail. It's that philosophy that they've gone into. They've really studied every part of how you start from a piece of data on the game disc to getting it through to pixels on the screen, basically, and they've worked really hard at making sure that whole thing can be as efficient as possible. And the actual specs are really quite impressive. The key is going to be the cost, I think, because if it's that powerful and quite, good value for money, that'll be very impressive. If it's that powerful and expensive, well, that's going to kind of alienate possibly or quite a few people. But I think that's what impressed me about the spec side of it, the philosophy and approach, and obviously the same thing with the way they revealed it. They didn't wait till E3 or just have some huge press conference and throw some PowerPoint slides in. They actually got one of the most renowned detailed tech reviewers to just go on site with them, and they just showed them it and were kind of very open and honest. There could still be some smoke and mirrors elements, and I think everyone should be a little cautious on that side of it. But if it, if it's genuinely was very open and honest, and they showed everything as it was, it's looking like it could be quite impressive.
I think this is I mean, it's interesting because one of the big criticisms, right? One of the big criticisms from this reveal is everybody, well, the PlayStation people, typical, right? You bought into your console, you've bought into the PS4, you bought all the games on your PS4. So you see this and you get worried and you need to defend your PlayStation 4. It just makes sense, it's buyers, loyalty, it makes sense. That's where you got your games, got your PS4 Pro, you're going to want to support it. So a lot of those people criticizing it come out and saying, where are the games? Where are the games? They haven't got the exclusives. Why would I go buy this? They haven't got the exclusives, right? And what I don't think they understand is that this reveal is as much for the consumers as it is the developers. Because when you show this power to the developers, right? Because I think this lockdown of the spec has only just happened, right? This is we're still a long way off release. We're like at least 6 months, probably longer before this comes out. So what they're hoping to do, I think, here is to get people talking about it. That's definitely working. That means when we get to E3, B, they can start showing the games. And C, what this is also going to do, as they've also talked about, is they're making this for the developers. They want to win back their support, and they want this to be the primary hardware that the games are being made for. And that means, and what will come with that are exclusives that will only be available on the Xbox family of consoles. So I think this is a very smart move, and I think it's the right step forward. And I think, we'll see. Like, E3 is going to show us a lot, and we're going to, that's what will be a bit of proof in the pudding. But if they can come up and say, From Software, exclusive title coming to Xbox One next year, if they can come out and say things like that, that they can win over those developers that have been so closely tied with the competition for so long, then I think that, that's what a lot of this power is about. They want to be the primary development platform. And I think by offering the most power, I think they will. You don't think so?
No, I mean, I've got a different take on it, I have to say, because from what they've said about parity of releases with the original Xbox One platform, that doesn't sit entirely neatly with what you're saying.
Yeah, but this whole thing, Sony have said the same thing though, and I think as we get into this mid-generation cycle, you're going to see. I think you're going to see that fade away. I don't think that support is going to last forever. Once they start to see the install base grow,
on sales figures, isn't it?
There
exactly. More PlayStations around, regardless of whether it's more powerful or not. It's the simple fact that more people have a PlayStation. Now, whether this will encourage Xbox growth, I'm not sure.
I think it
pricing, will. But it is pitched as a premium product, isn't it?
It's a premium. Yes, that's what Phil says. Keeps saying that, doesn't he?
I'm not expecting this to be cheaper or even on par with the PS4 Pro. I think it's going to be more expensive.
So what? Right? Okay. How much is the PS4 Pro, guys? I don't even know off the top of my head. Like $399, $349. Xbox One launched in the UK $429. Most people don't remember that because it dropped pretty quick. But it launched about $429. I think it was $460, $70 US, something like that. So a lot of people are predicting $500 US. So around $450 for us. I think it's going to be $399 UK, $450 US personally. I think it will be more expensive than the Pro, but it won't be by a lot. They know that they can't lose based on price. That would be a massive mistake to overcharge. They're not idiots, are they? I mean,
I wonder if this is why they've hedged their bets with the Xbox One S though, because they have put a bunch of stuff in that the Pro hasn't got, so they can make the argument that the Scorpio is more expensive, but it is significantly the better product. And if you can't
okay,
things still compares favorably.
Things you could do, I suppose, would be if you go $500 US, $450 UK, put an Elite controller in the box.
Yeah, that
would certainly help, wouldn't it? I mean, that's £120 by itself. You put that in the box. You take maybe a hit on your accessory sale.
They could do it a different way. They may not put anything in the box other than the console. one thing that I did pick up on from the video presentation is that this it's got the same internal power supply as the S. It's got the same basically inputs outputs on the back. I think their idea is that literally you just get the thing, you unplug your Xbox One S and you plug this in. We don't even need to half the time. Probably don't even take the cables out of the box.
So their marketing would be, we know you're already invested in our product. We know you've already got your Xbox One S. We know you've already got the Elite controller. So here you go. Here's a console, just literally a console in a box, $350 UK.
I don't know. I still think it would be I'm 400 minimum, and even then, I think Microsoft would be sucking up a loss. They wouldn't be taking the profit cut, any profit off the hardware basically sale. But it'll be interesting to see what they've done.
If you're going to sell something without a controller or cables, you can't ask £400 for it. You'd have lost. The other things is we've got Game Pass. So I have a feeling that Game Pass will get bundled in pretty quick. Year of that, 2 years of that, sub to that sort of thing immediately. Subscription to the Netflix of Xbox gaming. That'll help getting the new adopters in onto the Scorpio. Yeah, there are a lot of ways they can go with this, and I'm very, very, very excited about E3. I think it's going to be a fascinating show this year.
Exciting. I think the most exciting thing. Sorry.
I was just going to say there's a lot of jockeying around with the shows already. We've got Microsoft going on the Sunday, first time ever, to try and get ahead of Sony, and then we've got now we've got EA going on the Saturday. Earlier and earlier, it would seem that everybody's trying to. E3 will be the whole previous week at this point. So it's just crazy. But what were you going to say, Richard? Go on.
Sorry, yeah. I was going to say, I think the most exciting thing about this new platform is. And it's very unlike Microsoft, it feels, that they've put so much thought into the strategy. And it's not just the raw power that I'm interested in, it's what they've decided to apply it to. And Joel, you were talking about this, you touched on this earlier about sort of the whole thought process behind this project. They seem to have really done their homework in how this platform is going to work for existing games. And that's not something Sony did with the PS4 Pro.
No,
I've got a Pro, and it does feel like they've just chucked a load of extra stuff into the box. It's got some power in there that you can use, but it's kind of rationed out, and you feel like you're missing out on something. You're either not getting the frame rate bump that you might want in favor of resolution, or vice versa. And it sounds like the strategy they've got with the Scorpio is that they want 4K for everything. They want 4K assets to be a possibility as well, which isn't really something that I've heard talked about on PS4 Pro. It's just up-resing what's already there. And they want the frame rate bump as well. So they've designed this, even before they've even looked at the hardware, they've thought, right, what are the bottlenecks to make that possible? What do we need to make it happen? So every Xbox game that you play will have tangible benefits from day one.
I think it's interesting. The message has changed a little bit since this was announced at last E3, because Phil's got some quotes about saying things like, "Oh, if you don't have a 4K TV, there's really no reason to buy this," and stuff to that effect. And then you're reading this article, which I definitely recommend everybody checks out in detail if you're at all interested, because it is, Eurogamer and Digital Foundry have a whole series of posts about this. And videos and all kinds of things. Definitely check it out. But it seems like even since then the strategy has changed a little bit. It's like actually we want to make sure there is a tangible benefit, even if you're just running 1080p. We're going to get your frame rates way up across all your games. Everything's going to play better.
Isn't it? It's not a change in strategy in terms of what they're doing with it, but maybe how they're talking about it has shifted.
Well, no, Phil basically said, pretty explicitly that he almost said, like, if you don't have a 4K TV, you don't want to buy this. And then he also said, there might be some benefits, but we don't really know for the 1080p people. And I think they've really firmed that up. They've really made sure that their messaging now is that no, there will be tangible benefits.
Remember the context though, Ben. Going back to when he said that originally, this was around the time the Xbox One S was being launched.
So he doesn't want to make you go.
He is going to say, yes, don't worry about that one that's a year away. Buy the one that's coming out next week.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. So maybe they're just thinking about their timing and stuff. Yeah. I just like Phil, Richard. I want to believe everything he says to me. What can I say? a little bit of a digression. How do you guys feel about the exclusives then at the moment? The situation with, on the Xbox One compared to PS4? Because that's the thing I'm hearing the most online, is that people are just screaming at the top of their lungs, there are no games to play. There are no games to play. Why would I bother with it? Why would I bother?
Well,
how do you feel?
No games. If you care about exclusives, it's a problem. And if I only had an Xbox, I think I'd probably be whining about it myself. Because the fact is, most of the good exclusives have been on PlayStation recently.
So you're discounting Forza? You don't care about Forza?
Of course, I love Forza, but
I know Gears, Halo, Sunset Overdrive, Quantum Break.
Sunset Overdrive is like 2 years old. Halo, I didn't like.
Quantum Break, you liked? You like that, didn't you?
Quantum Break was over a year ago, but yes, I like.
Crackdown's coming.
Yeah, it's coming, but you've got to admit there is more stuff on PlayStation.
Well, what are we talking about? I literally would like to actually. I might actually look them up and see if I can get a list of these. Not right now, but I am curious. I mean, what we're talking about? We're talking about Bloodborns. We're talking about Persona. We're talking about Horizon. What am I missing? Anything? Any big ones?
Big ones.
Metal Gear, I guess. No, that wasn't exclusive, was it? No, what are we talking about?
They had some good indie exclusives, or at least timed exclusives as well, haven't they?
Yeah, but I don't think people are really talking. That's not. I don't think what people mean, because Xbox has got some indie exclusives as well, which are really good. Cupheads and all kinds of. That hasn't out yet, but there's been loads. Yeah. And there's it's kind of even across the two, I think, for the indies. So I just think it's a case, really, when people banging on about exclusive. What it is I bought into PlayStation. And I've got 100 games on PlayStation, so I'm going to loudly defend my position on that.
Well, there might be some of that, yeah, and I think it's easy to
that's fair.
Pick up on a gap in what's visible on the Xbox schedule. I suppose they've always been a bit like that. They don't announce their exclusive too far in advance.
No, we're going to get a huge amount.
Sometimes don't happen.
So Scalebound is a great example that we're all still, I think, gutted about not getting. And talking about Platinum, actually there is an exclusive there, isn't there? PlayStation, which we didn't get on Xbox, which of course is Nier. Yeah, which is meant to be amazing. It's not my kind of game, but maybe I'll check it out when it's cheap or something, because I'm curious about it. It seems very odd, that game. So maybe I will check it out at some point. But yeah, I mean, yeah, that's fair. And what am I playing right now? It's Persona. That'd be great if they could get that on Xbox, and stuff like that. It's not a performance related issue, is it? It's just a money issue that's not showing up anywhere else other than on a PlayStation, which is, more people should be able to play that game. It's not cool in my opinion. The other things like, with the Destiny content, which is just a case of Sony smacked down a $50 million check, and when we want exclusive on some content for 2 years. And that's all that is. There's no reason that isn't on the Xbox, and that's pretty shitty, isn't it? That kind of thing is a pretty, I'm not a fan of that. Or timed exclusives on Call of Duty and stuff.
For anyone that might say that's sour grapes because we're Xbox fanboys, it's not the case. I think
we're a multi-platform website. So shut up.
Well, yeah, we are ostensibly, but I think we
go back. We go back.
For Xbox.
About 15 years we go back with Xbox, so I guess there's that.
Yeah, but we are multiple platform holders, aren't we? And
yeah, we all own everything.
I feel the same the other way around. I mean, when you'd see E3 open every year to the news that we were going to get Call of Duty maps 30 days earlier on Xbox, big whoop. It just bothered me that I was supposed to value that, and for the people that did care, for 50% of them, it was a kick in the teeth because they were on the wrong console. So, yeah, stuff like that, it doesn't fly with me. And the whole Tomb Raider thing as well, it's just really, all you're doing is harming consumers.
Oh, yeah, of course. That was a year, wasn't it? Over about a year between those releases. Yeah, it was ridiculous. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to add about Scorpio?
Well, yeah. Well,
go on.
I was just going to on that specific point. What I tend to find, the competition between Sony and Microsoft is quite exciting. When one's always, it seems to flip every generation. One gets the advantage, the other, and when the person's losing, they always do more that benefits us as the gamer. Sony, the PlayStation 3, the PS Plus service, giving free games. Now Microsoft have emulated that. This is, it all ultimately benefits us. The more they're trying to compete with each other. everyone keeps coming up with great things. It's you know, and we're the winners. Yeah.
If Xbox was ahead, we wouldn't have backwards compatibility. I'm pretty sure of that.
Yeah, that's another great example as well. So when one side's losing, they always come up with some, you know, a big kick up the arse and come up with some great innovations. So we're, you know, the consumers are the ones that are generally winning, especially when they try and emulate each other now. So
yeah, I mean, talking about backwards compatibility, we're approaching 30% of the 360 titles now on Xbox One. That's crazy. That's like in just over a year or something, you know. No, it's a bit longer than that, isn't it? It wasn't last E3, it was the one before. So it's coming up in 2 years, but that's still that's crazy impressive, you know, that they've been able to do that. And then there's usually at least 1 or 2 a week, isn't there? Yeah, I think that's really. I'm always excited. Civ Rev just came up as backwards compatible, and I'm like, yep, I'm gonna play that shit again. That was an excellent game on the console. So I'm looking forward to giving that a go again and stuff like that. So no, I love that. You know, backwards compatibility is fucking amazing. And you're right, it only exists because they weren't winning and competition drove innovation. And that is, you know, Game Pass, that's almost certainly only happening because, again, competition is driving innovation. And I think because Phil Spencer is the right man to have at the top of Xbox and he's really pushing some stuff. How do you guys, before we move on quickly, how do you guys feel mid-generation hardware? How do we feel about that as a concept?
I'll go. So to me, they're both consoles now are just PCs, and that's literally what they are. I think the benefit they offer to developers is that although there may be, you know, 2 or 3 looking forward hardware profiles per se that they have to target, it is easier than trying to deal with the wealth of complexity and variation you get on PCs. Basically, the possible scenarios, like targeting basically the really low power one. So I think for them it's easier. The architecture, the tools they'll get to work and develop are easier. That you know, especially when you're trying to make a game that's cross-platform, it's, you know, they're so similar. It's gonna be really easy. So yeah, I'm not that far against it as long as they continue to support the, you know, the older models. And I think they'll kind of go for an Apple and Android style philosophy where the sort of 2 most recent models, and I think so Microsoft, I believe, are probably targeting like a 4-year window. That's kind of what Phil Spencer's kind of said. I think he sees a hardware refresh being a sort of every 4-year thing. Well, obviously we'll see if it continues beyond this, in which case, as long as they're supporting a console for 8 years, I think that's you know, it's okay with me. But I'm older, you know, I'm older, I work, I have money, I quite like shiny gadgets, so upgrading something every 4 years, yeah, it's kind of, I'm quite excited by it.
You just made me think of something that would win Xbox if they did it at E3. Full Steam support.
Oh shit.
I just thought you were talking about a PC and the fact that the power of this machine is now going to be a pretty damn decent PC.
It would also kill their market though, right? Because you have games that you could buy for 20 quid rather than...
All right, maybe you don't do, maybe, I don't know, maybe you don't do, you could integrate Steam in some ways into that machine.
Hold on. Sony did do a Steam integration on the PS3, didn't they? They
did it
sort of...
Yeah, it didn't do much. It didn't.
Yeah, I'm going to use that aspect of it, but they did do it. And maybe you're right. Maybe on the inverse
if I could turn my 4K TV into basically a living room PC so I could play my 400 Steam games on there as well, I mean, that would be incredible.
Don't forget
something to that effect, you know.
EA Access is only on the Xbox, but that's not. Because, I think that's only because Microsoft were willing to give EA that kind of that offer them that service, that let them use their external servers and all that kind of thing. I think Sony wanted a bit more of a lockdown experience, so it wasn't designed to be an exclusive. It was just that they could only get. Microsoft were the only people who would agree to the terms.
Sony are much more close.
Sony care too much about their security.
Yeah.
Well, they do now. They had a little scare. I don't know if you remember. Yeah. But no, I mean, can you imagine if we had some form of Steam support? Maybe they say if the game is available from Xbox Store, you can't get it on Steam. Maybe they do something like that, and therefore keep you forced to buy, the console type games. But if I could get all my RTSs and all that kind of shit running on an Xbox in my PC on a 4K TV, looking amazing on the big screen. Holy shit!
I think it's going to happen. I mean, it kills their Windows 10 store dead.
Yeah,
doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but you just say the only place you can buy the Xbox games are through Xbox. So it doesn't affect Windows Store, does it?
Yeah, well, that's only going to help first party stuff, and for anyone else, there's no one going to be beholden to that rule, is there? So for third party releases, why would they say, right, we won't put it on Steam unless so Microsoft give them a shitload of money to only release it on the Xbox Store? There is
definitely, yeah, you're right. There are issues like that, no doubt. I'm just pie in the sky, and I know they're going to have some big stuff at this E3. There are going to be some big surprises, right? I can feel it. I can feel it coming, Richard. But I know it's going to be some.
You mentioned about mid cycle launches, though. Think about how long it's been since the Xbox One came out. It's 2013.
It'll be 4 years this Christmas, won't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and when you think back to the original Xbox that came out, 2002, and we had the 360 4 years later.
We did, yeah. They buried that fast, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not that far out of.
No, I mean to be fair, people have forgotten this, that the 360 PS3 generation went on an abnormally long time.
Yeah,
it was pulled out a lot longer than originally planned. So I think if you look back at console history in the past, it is a shorter cycle. It's more like 5 years, 6 years at the most, rather than the 8 or 9 we got out of the 360 and the PS3. So I what a surprise! People kicking up a fuss about people wanting money from them. The fact that you're still only paying $60, 50 quid for a video game, considering how much they cost to make now, is frankly ridiculous. So you can just stop fucking bitching, in my opinion. But there you go. Anything else, or shall we move on to a little bit more news?
News.
What's this stuff about the HTC Vive, Joel? What's going on?
I just came across this earlier this week. I can't remember which website I read it on, basically. But so HTC Vive, they're launching their own subscription service called Viveport. Just trying to get the show notes up. I can't remember it. I think it was Viveport. There we go. Oh yeah, the link I got from Engadget again. So they're launching a subscription service called Viveport. Now it was $7 a month basically, and you can obviously play a small number of the VR games that they have. Now I get the idea of everyone, subscription service is great, everyone wants one, but beyond actually paying for, I pay for Xbox Live, I pay for PS Plus. That's my budget for subscription services gone. I'm not gonna. If Steam added one, I'd probably consider that as well. But literally, that's it. My budget is exhausted.
I'm slightly confused. There aren't that many VR games. Most of the VR games that are available aren't that expensive. Why would this seem like a good idea? I don't get it. Help me out.
Same problem. That's the same problem I had. I just looked at it and just thought, this is just. I'm going to read something in about 3 months' time, just saying that they're canning it because they didn't get the uptake they're expecting.
I get the concept.
I
don't understand it. I mean, VR is by nature experimental, so it seems like a good idea on the face of it to have a selection of stuff that you can just dip into.
Give me a fucking demo then, I mean,
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess.
Weird.
But then a lot of VR stuff is kind of demo length anyway, isn't it? I mean, I'm speaking from PlayStation VR experience. I haven't tried Vive, but a lot of the stuff is quite short, so to have a demo of it would be impossible.
Well, I'm gonna just slam.
And then some of it is quite pricey, so
come on, let's just do it.
If you could have an all-you-can-eat sort of service of a select few titles that you could then get a discount on or something, but it doesn't suggest that in the article, does it? It just says you could maybe buy them if you like them.
I think most of the people who've basically got the PC to run VR games and a HTC Vive as well are probably have already going to have bought most of these games. They have money. Anyone who's got, you need a 1K PC at least to get a good quality VR experience, and then the headset on top. If they get all that way and they're literally just like living in a potato sack because they've sold everything they've possibly owned to get that far, and this is their lifeline, then great. But yeah, I don't see the market for it.
Well, there you go. That's sort of connected to another little E3 prediction in my head for you for Xbox for Scorpio. Oculus support day one. Plug in and play. Or just throwing it out there.
Vive
Just
support
throwing it out
possibly.
there.
Vive support possibly as well. I think they may actually try and.
They're playing it all very coy right now
Yeah.
with the VR stuff. And I just think that might be because at E3 they're going to blow the doors off with a massive announcement, something like that. Well, they've already got a partnership in place with Oculus, so you know they could definitely broaden that. But anyway, I'm sure we will do an E3 prediction show in the future, won't we? So
it could be quite dangerous for them to do that because obviously PlayStation are already in the market and they're doing better than they expected to. So unless they're really confident of their VR offering, they may just keep a lid on it until they're really ready.
Well, how does the saying go? 2 potatoes is better than 1, but it's hardly a sack. So, you know. Right, I think though
that's a saying, is it, Ben?
That is a saying.
I've never heard that before.
I don't know. I must socialize in odd circles. There you go. The potato farmer circles, perhaps. I don't know. That's possible, I suppose. Right. So we're talking about VR, though. I'm going to use that as a segue because we haven't really got much more to say about the HTC thing other than Richard. You are actually playing a VR game for review right now, which is Fated: The Silent Oath. How is it?
I'm really torn about it. It's interesting but flawed. So, Fated: The Silent Oath. It's on PlayStation VR. It's, in the words of its developer, what do they say? It's more focused on emotion than gameplay. Which
same thing that BioWare says about Mass Effect. just a lot of hate though in Mass Effect's case.
Right,
okay.
I kind of get what they're saying, but yeah, you know what I mean. I'm a sucker for a good story.
Totally.
But to say, don't worry about the gameplay, ignore that bit. I thought that was a strange marketing tactic. So I went into it with some concerns. It's a story-based, first-person, obviously, adventure in virtual reality. It's a Viking setting, and you're a fella called Ulfa who awakens into an encounter with a Valkyrie. And doing some research, I found that Valkyrie is the Old Norse for chooser of the fallen or something like that.
It's got basically an angel equivalent, I think.
Yeah. So like an angel who chooses who dies or not. And in the sort of looking through the eyes of Ulfa, you talk to this Valkyrie and she tells you, I'm going to let you live in exchange for your voice. So actually you don't talk to her because you ain't got a voice if you want to live. And that's how the game starts. You're entirely mute. The game is played through traditional movement on analog stick. You can walk about for most of it, although not very well. I'll come to that in a minute. But the interesting thing about the game is the interactions, which are entirely driven by head movements. So because you can't talk, all you can do is nod or shake your head. And depending on what people are saying to you, which is unnervingly engaging, and it makes you care about these characters in a really sort of unsettling way. It is weird.
That's pretty smart as a form of interaction, though, for a VR game.
It is a good idea.
I've heard of that before.
Yeah, and I think this is what they're getting at when they say it's not really about gameplay. There isn't much of a game there, but as a VR experiment in how close you can get to artificial intelligence, it's not really intelligence, it's all scripted, but you know what I mean. It's got these NPCs in there that are trying to engage with you and form a relationship with you, and to a degree it does work. You sit with your wife on horse-drawn carriages and stuff and talk to your kid, or your kids try and talk to you and you can't respond to them and it feels horrible. It just really gets you. There are moments when you're sat with your young daughter and she's trying to play with you and talk to you, and you feel actually quite protective of her. There's this really weird bond formed in only a short series of moments, because it is quite a short experience. It's probably an hour and a half, couple of hours. But the way that these characters are presented to you, and you have to engage with them and sort of try and communicate with them in this limited way. It does work, but just on the technical execution, it does fall down in quite a number of ways. So visually, although it opens up quite well, and it all seems really vibrant and colourful. When you get closer to the environments themselves, the characters look fine. But when you get closer to the environments themselves and you start walking around them, all the ground it's just a glacial sheet of nothing. There's supposed to be like animal tracks that you might follow at points in the game, and it's clearly just a texture on the floor, which I suppose in a lot of experiences would be fine. But in a game where they've said, forget the gameplay, this is all about you being absorbed in this world, and then everything you see is flat, that is a problem. And even moving around, when it's got the traditional this point for VR segmented rotation, so when you don't just smoothly rotate, when you turn your body, you turn by degrees to avoid motion sickness. That's fine. But when you want to walk in a straight line forward, you ain't doing that easily, because your movement's on sort of graduated direction as well. So it's like a old-fashioned D-pad movement. You can only move in one fixed direction. So if that's not exactly the line that you want to follow, you're zigzagging the fuck all over this place. And it just takes you totally out of the experience. When you're trying to engage with these characters and be absorbed in emotional moments, you're just thinking, how do I get to that place without zigzagging about? And it just feels really awkward all of the time. But I suppose ultimately what you're left with is a halfway broken technical exercise that's got a decent smattering of emotional points that probably lift it to something that's worth experiencing. But I wouldn't say it's a absolute recommendation. It's got too many problems to say go out, buy it. But yeah, interesting.
As the player in the game, I'm just curious about the silent oath aspect of the game. Do you actually have to sit there in silence and it's like listening on the microphone, and if you say anything it just comes up with game over or anything like that? Or
no, there's no.
That'd be pretty good.
No, it'd be very immersive, wouldn't it, if they tied it, especially because it's a short experience. It could probably work, but
I don't know if it's just me being slow, but it took me a while to catch on to what it was trying to do, because there is a microphone built into PlayStation VR. So when it originally said, right, I'm going to take your voice, I didn't know that it literally meant I couldn't talk. I thought maybe she wanted to impersonate a bloke. I don't know. So yeah, I did try and talk to my wife first time I saw her in the game. She's you awaken after encountering the Valkyrie from whatever life-threatening circumstance put you there, and your wife's looking over you, concerned obviously because you've just died and somehow come back, and she's asking, can you understand? And I'm like, yes. And she's not listening to me, obviously, because I'm not supposed to have a voice. But it doesn't prompt you in any clear way that this is not what you're supposed to be doing. And there seems to be sort of a time limit on when you can nod or shake your head, and then it will just proceed with what it was going to do anyway. So it does feel like there's not really very much consequence to whether you try and engage with these people or not. It's just that when you do, something happens. Their instant response to you shaking your head, something that might be quite a big deal. If they've asked you a really significant question, and the only way you can get across the answer is just shaking your head, then
I was going to say, I take it they're not wrestling fans in this particular Norse mythology, because I'd be throwing up the Daniel Bryan yes hands or no to indicate my choices. There'd be no head shaking. It's just like, clearly this is a non-evolved civilization that don't understand. What about a nicest pair of thumbs up? What's up? Yeah, I got you.
It's
thumbs
funny
down.
you say that, because there is a mechanic where you can pull each of the triggers, and each one will raise the hand.
Raise the hand. That could mean a few things. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. Well, the corresponding hand, if you pull the left trigger, your hand will go up like that or like that.
All right. What does that do?
Well, I don't know. I can't remember that ever being of any value. So yeah, I did try and do the Daniel Bryan thing. No, you're right. They weren't buying it.
They weren't feeling it in the Norse mythology.
No,
setting.
so it's frustrating. The level of interaction you've got is seriously hobbled, and I didn't understand what the hand raising shit was about. But as far as it goes, it makes some interesting experiments.
That's the thing with VR. That's what makes me want to get VR. I'm like thinking about the end of this year, and I'm thinking, well, 4K TV Scorpio or high-end PC rig in a dedicated VR room. Difficult, you know. Both are tempting, but I could not do both. You know, I can only do one or the other. I mean, that's the other thing, isn't it? With the Scorpio stuff, it's like, well, you know, Xbox exclusives are on PC, aren't they? So get a high-end PC. So it's an interesting one. But anyway, that sounds like, I love these experimental type games. It's pretty cool. I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that as a segue. I've been playing a little bit of an experimental type game as well on the Xbox. I suppose you could call it experimental, a bit of a stretch, I suppose. But Punch Club on console. You guys know this game?
It's got back a bit, isn't it? I've not played it, but that's been knocking around for a while.
Over a year on PC.
Is it mobile as well?
And DS, and I think possibly iOS, and
it's on Android as well.
But it's only just showed up on Xbox One and PS4, and it's a damn good port by Tiny Build, done in house by those guys. And it works really well. I don't think I feel like at this point, if you were interested in this game, you probably already looked it up. It's basically a management simulation game in which you are managing the life of the character as he trains to be a fighter, but also it involves things like going through your day-to-day business of feeding yourself, training, working a job, interacting with characters, you know, all the while working your way through like this fight club system of underground fights and fighting, you know, moving up through the ranks and stuff. I think the most interesting and controversial mechanic is that if you don't train, for example, if you go to work or have an off day, your skills will actually start to decrease. So it's trying to simulate the life of being an actual kind of combat athlete. So like an MMA fighter or something like that. The idea that if you don't, you know, keep up on your skills, on your training in certain areas, those areas will degrade, which can be frustrating. But it also adds a level of immersion, which I really respected. And it's sort of got a pixel art. It's got lots of like 80. What makes it fun, rather than what could be quite a dry experience, is that it's set in this sort of 80s, early 90s kind of world, heavily inspired by all of the films that you remember and all the pop culture from that era. So lots of Rockies in there, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sly Stallone's type characters, cartoon characters from that era as well. There's like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles type group that aren't turtles, you know, changed enough so that it doesn't infringe copyright, shall we say. But the influences are worn proudly on its sleeve. Has a lot of character, a lot of a really fun sense to it, even though it's actually quite a sort of thoughtful, tactical kind of game in which you're really thinking about where you're putting points and skills. I think one of the other really interesting choices is that the fights are not one-to-one. You aren't controlling them like you would say Street Fighter. You pick a series of moves and skills for that fight, and then you basically hit play, and then it simulates the experience, which can be both awesome when a fight goes your way unexpectedly, and really shit when you get beaten randomly by someone who really shouldn't have been able to beat you, because it's dice rolls and, you know, chance and all that play a factor. And obviously you can mitigate that by picking the right stuff before the fight and training the right areas, but sometimes it will just go against you. Which I guess is true to fights to a degree, I suppose. You know, if you take an unlucky punch on the jaw and get knocked out, then that's that. So yeah, it's a really cool experience, and much like Richard was talking about the experimental nature of VR games and trying different things on that platform, I love seeing games like this on console that you wouldn't normally expect to see on console, because I think it's really cool to see that sort of stuff being given a wider audience that would just not have seen this 4 years ago. So yeah, I gave that a 3 out of 5. It's a really good little experience. Really cool. Yeah.
I'm interested in giving that a go. I think it sounds more like something you'd want to play I suppose on a phone, isn't it? More of a mobile experience.
Yeah. It's not like a big screen experience. No, it doesn't feel like it needs to be, or is particularly beneficial being on, you know, your TV. Yeah, it would probably be best on like your Vita or whatever. But right now, handheld gaming is pretty fucking limited until the Switch, I think, takes off as a handheld platform. You know, Vita's dead. Like, who uses that now? 3DS is pretty shitty old kind of hardware now. I don't think I particularly want to play anything on that. I mean, so what we're talking about, your phone, and I think your phone, while it would work on a touchscreen environment, I think that's too cramped almost. What we repping here, Joel? I don't recognise that.
That's a Game and Watch, mate. You don't need
anything. Don't
need anything else. Sadly, it's not backlit. It's not a backlit display, so you can't
play it except in direct sunlight.
Yeah. So you have to have a separate light. That's all you need. Take it everywhere you go. That one's Fire. If anyone can remember Fire, you basically have built a 3-story building with people dropping out, and you've got to bounce them across into the ambulance.
That's fair enough. No, I can't say I remember that one.
At the present of handheld gaming.
That's the forever of handheld gaming. That is the beginning and the end, the alpha and the omega. Yeah, I like it.
My son will be starting with.
That's cool. I like that you got it planned out already. Yeah. He doesn't have a choice in the matter. You're going to school him in gaming. No, I respect that. But yeah, Punch Club is a cool little game. I'm not going to dwell on it for too long because it has been around for over a year. I think a lot of outlets were talking about it when it was out on PC New. So it's just cool to see on consoles. Joel, you've been playing for review a game I kind of forgotten I'd given you for review until you mentioned it in the show notes, which is RWBY or RWBY, which is a action slasher based on the anime.
Yeah. So I haven't yet done my complete research on I've just jumped straight into the game. I haven't done my complete research, but it's based on an anime series that's American in origin.
It's made by Rooster Teeth, isn't it? It's the guy.
It was made. No, it's made for Rooster Teeth by somebody else, basically. So they seem to be the recipient more than the creator. But I haven't completely dug back into the history, basically. But I know what RWBY RWBY stands for. It's the characters in the game. One that you get to play. One's called. I actually wrote the names down. Yeah, one's called RWBY. One's called Weiss or Vice, and Blake and Yang, basically. So that's where the name comes from. It's a hack and slash game. So first impressions, I've put a few hours into it now. Starts off quite promising. This game's very. So I've only got the single player. I don't know if the multiplayer is different. I get the impression that multiplayer is the cooperative version of the single player, where basically you play. Rather than just pick one character, you pick one character and then you play with the other 3 characters. So you play as the whole team and probably go through the single player experience. But it doesn't have a tutorial. Literally, I dropped in the game and I start walking forwards and just like, right, like pressing buttons, trying to figure out what's going on. And I persisted with it because I thought, no, I've obviously just missed the tutorial option on the main menu. So I kept going until I died in the first level. I thought, right, now I'm dead. I'll go back to the main menu and start the tutorial. And that there isn't one. At which point it dawned on me like, I need to go back to the single player and figure this out. So I think there's a bit of a weakness, but the game actually it's quite simple. Hammering X just seems to do progressively one. I think X is kind of like a light hit and Y is the slower, harder hit. B is kind of like when an enemy is about to hit you, it gives you an audio cue and you press B and then you can counter and interrupt basically. And that's kind of it. It looks quite pretty to start with, but it actually realized that pretty much the first few scenes you get in the game seem to be most of the content you're ever going to get to see, and the enemies as well seemingly lack a bit of variety. But I'm kind of enjoying it. It's a bit fun. It doesn't require too much thought at the moment to play, so. We'll see where it develops, basically. I'll see how long the whole single player campaign is. And also I'll try out the different characters. I've tried out 2 of them so far. They look different, but I haven't seen too much difference in the move set that I can clearly distinguish at the moment. So it might just be a simple reskinning. But hopefully I'll have my review out for this over the next week or 2.
No, I look forward to hearing more of your thoughts of it. But I teased at the top of the show. if RWBY is the US anime inspired game, I have been playing the most anime inspired games recently. The big release of the moment, Persona 5. Now, either of you guys got any history with the Persona series?
Persona 4 Golden on Vita.
How many hours did you get into that?
Maybe 10, 15.
10, 15. So quite
near enough.
So basically the tutorial. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm still in the tutorial Persona 5. I haven't played it enough yet, really. I'm not reviewing it right now by any means. So what about you, Joel?
No. I've not experienced any of these. So I've just Googled it to try and get myself some background.
Okay. So Persona, the general gist of the series is that you generally, I'm not a massive expert. I played 3, 4 Golden like Richard, and now 5. It's that you're usually you play as a teenager dealing with very adult situations. I think that's fair to say. That's kind of what it comes down to. The idea of young people, like is often the case in anime, dealing with adults who are clueless, selfish, evil wank stains that you have to do away with, basically, in one way or another. And in the Persona series, that usually involves somehow getting into their minds and making them better people by killing their sort of evil persona, I suppose. But where the name comes from. It's trippy, it's weird, and it's fucking brilliant.
Without even having heard the background of this, and you just saying like it's an animated and that pure description, it sounds like South Park or something. The way you read it off.
It's not like South Park. No, it's because it's not funny.
Yeah.
It's actually one of the darker games I played this year. I mean, Persona 4 Golden, as you might remember, Richard, it's got. I mean, there's a murder mystery, but it's all like set in this sort of
heavy,
like,
isn't it? I mean, like
no, Golden
missing kids, and it's
Golden isn't that heavy. No, I think compared to 5, it's a fucking like a light little romp in a sort of little town out in the outskirts of Japan area somewhere.
It's quite oppressive. I mean, you're a stranger in the town. There's people going missing or something, and you don't know who to trust. It's quite dark.
You're not wrong, but this takes it to a whole nother level.
It's kind of like Life is Strange if it was directed by David Lynch over 100 hours.
Kind of. I mean, it is credibly trippy. I mean, the concept that you can go into people, you fight these things called shadows and these personas, which are, you kind of have this Pokemon thing going on where you collect personas and you can fuse them together and they fight for you, but you're also dealing with the enemy personas, which are these shadows of a person. So, for example, right, so Richard's saying Persona 4 Golden is quite dark. No, not compared to this. In Persona 4 Golden, you're kind of welcomed to where you're living. You know, you're an out-of-towner, but you live within quite a nice family. Here, the guy you live with hates you. Like, I'm sure that will develop. But to start with, he absolutely hates you. He's doing it because he's being paid. You've been kicked out of home because you tried to help a woman who was being attempted to be sexually assaulted. But the guy who was doing it was kind of a powerful dude. So he ended up suing you, and you are the one that got in trouble where he got away with it. And therefore, you were expelled from school, and you had to leave your nice town and come to move to Tokyo, where everybody knows you have a criminal record and therefore doesn't trust you or like you. And basically, the first thing you're dealing with is a teacher who is, I'm still early on, but so it's not really a spoiler. This is in the tutorial. There's a teacher who is physically abusing, he's like a PE teacher, he's physically abusing this volleyball team that he runs. Whenever they mess up, he's like beating them, breaking them, like really being horrible to them. And then he's blackmailing female members of the body, of the student body, to have sex with him by saying that he's going to pull their friends off of the team, the winning team, if they don't capitulate to his demands. So, you know, just a light little family romp, really. Very Disney, I think. It's out there. This is some dark shit. And it's like, that's in the first, like, 2 hours of the game. And you know, this is why you're getting to grips with the mechanics. You're being reintroduced to the whole Shadow Realm and the different way. Every Persona game, it's like how you access your powers, and the Shadow Realm is different. In Persona 4 Golden, you went through a television. In this, you have an app, like a navigation app on your phone that leads you into the Shadow Realm. You know, and then you know, Persona 3, you summoned personas by literally, you had a gun and you shot yourself in the head. And that's how you brought your powers out. It wasn't quite as nasty as that in Golden. It was that. How did you do it in Golden? I can't remember how you got your personas out in Persona 4. And in this one, it's all about summoning the spirit of rebellion from yourself to rise up and to take on the evil, oppressive adults. Basically, adults suck, and they just fuck up kids and ruin their lives. And it's amazing. It's so well written. The voice acting is amazing. It looks unbelievably good. The style on display in this game is just, it oozes with a vibrancy and a uniqueness that, you know, from enemy design to environmental design to character design to menu design to just everything looks on point just 100% of the time. Like, everything is designed well, like perfect. And then the music has got this like jazz, funk, rock, electro thing going on, which is brilliant and works as well. It's just unique. I've never played a game like this. I don't really like JRPGs, right? The only JRPGs I like were Persona 3, 4, and this, really. I don't really get on with turn-based combat, but the way this works, the combat is, once you start to get into it, there's a rhythm to it. It's so quick and vibrant, and you're switching between, you know, different personas, and you're, you know, using different team members for different types of environments and different battles and different dungeons. And you know, you're looking at, the enemies are so varied and weird, and because they're all reflective of the kind of the id element of a character's mind, you know, that, and the environments you're fighting in. For example, in the first one, like I said in the tutorial, so it's not really a spoiler, the guy's his PE teacher, right? So he's the king of his castle. That's what one character says about him. You know, he thinks the school is his castle. So guess what? The school turns into a fucking castle, and he's the fucking king. And he has like sadistic minions that are torturing, you know, the volleyball, his interpretation of the volleyball team in his own mind. You know, and it's just fucking amazing. It's so weird, and I can't wait to see, because there's a whole overarching story thing that I'm not going to spoil. But, you know, basically the main dungeons are always going to be focused around, I think, you know, going into a certain individual's brain to fix them. Though that might have consequences. If you do it wrong, you might murder the guy. So, by the way, so kids, you know, you've got a bit of a criminal record. You know, that's just the beginning. Soon you're going to be a murderer if you do it wrong. So there's so much, like, and on top of all that, there's like a management system in which you have to manage how you best use your time throughout the day. Do you remember that, Richard, from Persona 4? That's been around in the Persona games for quite a while. So it's like, you know, in the morning, I've got to go to school, you know, Monday to Friday. And then I'm at school until the early afternoon. And then I get out of school, and then it's like, well, what should I do? Should I go to Tokyo and like talk to my friends in Tokyo? Or should I go home and study? Or should I go do some reading? Because everything you do has a benefit. So like talking to people and improving your relationships with people will improve a particular persona that you have linked to that relationship. If you read, you will get things like improvements in your skills or your knowledge or things like that. And everything you do takes up an amount of time. So you have to think about the best way of, you know, approaching every day. So you have this in-depth management system, you have this crazy turn-based combat system, you have this bonkers world and vibrant, inventive storyline with these crazy characters, which are at the same time outlandish and over the top and grounded and realistic. I don't know how they do it. It just works, possibly because it's so very, very Japanese that you just kind of like accept it. But then again, it's not just like the weird foreigners think it's brilliant. Japanese love it as well. This game has sold, since its release, though this is including its Japanese release, 1.5 million units already. That's 3 times the amount Persona 4 sold in its first year of release. So this is a massive hit already. And I just want more games like this. More games like this, please. The inventive, crazy, bonkers shit like this is why we play games, surely, you know? Not just to play them in Call of Duty.
Is it a proper exclusive then, in terms of like them having bought the exclusive rights to this?
As far as I know, it'll only be on PlayStation. Yeah, I mean, if you look at Persona 4, that was a PS2 game and then a Vita game, and that was all that was ever out on.
So my quick Google's just mentioned that it's. I think this might have been released on the PS3. It says
yes,
Persona 5,
it was. Yeah.
Platforms PS3, PS4. Yeah.
Yeah, same day and date on PS3. Yeah.
Ah, okay. So it has just come out on PS3. Yeah.
Yeah. It was originally going to be a PS3 game. It got delayed to the point where they were like, "Oh, we'll put it on 4 as well." Yeah, it's like I said, I'm 5 hours in, and like Richard said, of a 100-hour game. I have no idea where it's going. I'm loving the being a phantom thief, which is what I am in this game. It is a brilliant, yeah, other experience. You know, it's not like playing a Call of Duty. We can kind of all get an idea of what it'd be like to pick up a gun and shoot a bad guy. This is something you only get in video games. The idea that this is just the whole concept is insane, and I embrace it. It's so much fun. It's so insane. I love it.
Now I'm used to Switch. This is exactly the sort of game.
It'd be perfect on the Switch, but I don't think you'll ever get it on there. I really don't. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I really wish this was, I A, still had my Vita, and B, it was on my Vita, because I would love to be able to just take this with me, do a day, you know, here and there, in-game day, like on the bus and stuff on the way to work and stuff, and then, you know, things like that. That would be fantastic. That I loved. Persona 4 was easily my favorite Vita game by miles. I put about 50 hours into it.
Yeah, I probably won't ever go back now, but yeah, that was the only reason I bought it on Vita, was because for something that's going to take up this much time, you want to be able to dip into it whenever you like.
But then again, I just did 85 hours on Mass Effect, you know, so it's not impossible, is it, to sit? I can't someone play do a big sesh.
No, it's not impossible, but it does fit into mature men's schedules better. You can take it on the bus and stuff.
I like being a mature man, Richard. It's a sexy sounding way to describe it. Then I might be like Komishida, the horrible PE teacher that's physically abusing his students and blackmailing the girls. It's like, fuck me, that's a sleazy motherfucker. I can't wait to bring that asshole down. You know, that's coming. His day is coming. So it's so much fun. Everybody should fucking try it, man. Honestly, Joel, if you've never tried a Persona game, try it. I mean, I know I say try it like it's like nothing, but it's like 50 odd quid. But you know, it is so unique. You've probably never experienced any kind of game quite like this. Like, honestly,
like in a year or so's time, or 2 years, it will come around on PS Plus then, and I can give it a crack then.
I don't think Golden's ever been on Plus.
No,
so
Golden hasn't.
Right.
So good luck with that. But I do definitely recommend it. I mean, like, if you've got a bit, look, we're coming up to a point now in the year where releases are really slowing down. It's getting real quiet. You know, we have got, however, by the way, guys, if you weren't aware, the Easter sale on Xbox starts on Monday. So that's coming up with I think up to about 75% off for gold subscribers. However, big releases are slowing down, and it's going to be really quiet, I think, until kind of E3. We've got that Agents of Mayhem game, but to be honest, that looks like a right pile of shit. So I'm not really sure about that. But yeah, quiet time, perfect time for Persona. Like, really put some time into that. That would be my summer gaming recommendation. Don't go out in the sun. Pretend you're some weird school kid that goes into people's brains in Tokyo. It's amazing. It's way better than your life. It's way better than everybody's life. So I'm going to throw to Richard because I need to rest my voice because I can hear it going already. But so Richard, you've been playing some games that have been out for the last like forever.
Well, I don't think that's entirely fair. Snake Pass is new.
Oh, it's Snake Pass. I didn't have that on my list.
That's because I bought it a half hour before we started the show.
Okay, well, yeah, because that means you're going to have a lot of experience to talk about that. Leave that one for 2 weeks from now, you cheeky motherfucker. However, I am kind of interested, first of all, to know how much you've played, and second, to know how you're feeling about Horizon.
Well, you might be disappointed to hear I've played not very much, because I got as far as... I don't know if it's a spoiler to say. The game starts with the main character before she's properly grown up, so you experience a bit of her childhood in that. I've played as far as her grown-up bit, and then done a little bit of hunting to see what the mechanics are like.
Yeah, you've done nothing.
Stuff.
Right,
I haven't done anything.
No.
But already I'm thinking, no, this doesn't feel like Zelda. Why can't I climb that properly? And it just all feels a little bit shonky. In a mechanical sense, but Christ, does it look good? Best looking game I've ever seen.
Wow, just ever.
Just ever. I don't want to say that lightly. It just is incredible. I've never seen anything that looks this good.
You're playing it on a Pro, but you're not on like a 4K TV or anything, no?
I'm not on a 4K TV, but yeah, I am on a Pro. But
I mean, it looks amazing on my regular PS4. So
yeah. So I think it looks good anyway. I'm surprised that it works. On a regular.
I mean, I'm curious, like, yeah, you're already having the Zelda thing, but I didn't have that. I, however, bounced off of it really hard after about 12, 12-ish hours, I guess, something like that, 10, 12 hours. I just got pretty bored. I feel, I don't know if there's something wrong with me though, because people were like saying this is the fucking best open world game ever. I just think maybe I'm a bit bored of them right now, and I don't know.
It really isn't, because Zelda, but yeah, I kind of want to get my fill of Zelda before I start this, because I know I'm not going to give it justice otherwise.
Are you still? How many hours into Zelda are you?
I don't know. It doesn't tell you, but
a lot.
I'm never off it. I'm never off it.
So what? Today. I mean, it's weird, isn't it? Because I could say how much more have you got to do, but I'm guessing you could go and face Ganon right now if you wanted to. But like, you've done him. Oh, you've beaten. So you finished the game.
Yeah, and I'm still playing.
Wow.
My completion at the moment, because once you finished it, it tells you your completion rate on the map. I'm at 51.5% complete or something.
Jesus.
Which I must have put in 70 or 80 hours easily. And I'm just above 50% done.
Man, that game is extensive.
It's massive. I think a lot of that is, did I mention the Korok seeds last time I spoke about this? So there's bits on the map where something might be out of place. You'll see like a big boulder at the top of a hill, and then at the bottom of a hill there'll be a hole, and you'll think, well, what happens if I push that boulder into the hole? And then you do it, and this little fella comes out and is like, hey, have a seed. There's 900 of those, and I've done about 300 so far. So a lot of that completion is little bits like that on the map that are neither here nor there really, but it's still content to find. In terms of missions, I think I'm pretty much done. I found the last shrine today out of 120, so they're all finished. Still got a bunch of side missions to finish that I haven't found yet. Yeah, it still keeps on giving. It's amazing.
I do want to Switch. I keep saying to the wife, every time I see the Zelda, I go, I want to get a Switch. And she's like, well, what about Scorpio, 4K TVs and all this? And I'm like, I still want one, please. Please, can I get one, please? I mean, I think it would be easier if there was like maybe more than one game. Just two games? Maybe even three? Am I asking too much?
If you're only going to have one game, that is the one game. It's amazing.
It does sound that way. However, you've got to remember, right, Richard, I play a lot of games for Bxb, right? So it'd be really difficult for me to dedicate like 100 hours to something that wasn't for review or something like that. It's because I'm enjoying Persona right now, but I'm also aware that I might get a game on Monday that I have to then stop playing Persona to, review and stuff. So it's like, it's the tricky part of doing what we do. We can't always play the games we really want to play for the amount of time we want to play them. I was very fortunate to be able to play Mass Effect to the extent I was, even though sadly not the best games we've spent 85 hours on, but oh well. Shit happens. Joel, I noticed there's something on your list here, Joel, that I don't know what it is. And I'm like, is that a board game? Is that like a video game? What is Heroes of the Aturi cluster?
Oh yeah, no. This is me hijacking it to talk about board games.
This was a board game.
This is my sly play.
However, it was science fiction sounding, so I was like, I'll allow it.
Yeah. So. I remember last time you asked me what I was doing, and then you're like, oh, you play board games. Last time you're like, what are you actually playing? And I gave a brief overview of it. And then you said, oh, you can write about it if you want. So I've taken it to heart. I'm working on my review of this now. You're going to make you put it up on the site.
Cool. I'm not even sure how that's. I mean, there's going to be screenshots. What do you do for the images?
I've got photos of us just playing the game, basically, as the layout of the table and the board and stuff. So
love it. I'm going to create a new tag, board games. It's going to be so exciting.
Yeah. So it's the thing that's brilliant about this is we talked about last time. I think you've said you've heard of the X-Wing miniatures game. And
yes.
You explained a little bit how that's a sort of two-player. One player plays the Imperials or the Rebels, or there is another third faction you can play, and each player takes it in turns to lock in the maneuvers for their ships, and then all the maneuvers play out. Players assign actions. They try and second guess what's going to happen because ships move in certain order based on skill. And then combat happens, so the higher skilled people go first, and it plays it back down, and then you repeat these game rounds over and over again. This is turning that up on its head. This is this is completely fan made as well, and this is what's like so impressive about it. This is a bunch of fans who've got together and wanted a more cooperative experience. They wanted some RPG elements. They wanted to be a pilot. They wanted to be able to fly and sort of earn experience and level up and purchase new abilities and start with ships that kind of, make things a bit difficult, but just end up at the end of the game just ridiculously overpowered and it just being an absolute laugh. And so what they've done is they've created an entire rule set and stuff for the Imperial players, which basically play out as use dice tables to figure out what maneuvers they'll do based on they'll assign a target based on sort of where they are. Are they directly ahead, slightly to the right, slightly to the left, to 90 degrees to the right, and you roll a random dice and it gives them a random maneuver based on if they're closing or fleeing, and the detail is amazing. And then they've created these in sort of story arcs, these missions that you play through, and each story arc is composed of 3 or 4 missions, and you earn a victory point when you complete one of these story arcs successfully. And the campaign basically involves, you can play a short version where you just have to earn 2 victory points, I think. So you have to complete 2 story arcs, or you can play the more advanced one where you have to complete all 5, I think it is. So there are 5 story arcs and you have to earn 5 victory points, I think. We're just doing the short one at the moment. And it's just incredible that, the whole thing's free. If you have the game, you literally go on this website, you can download the zip file, you unzip it, there's a rule book in there. You can get it professionally printed if you like. The effort they've gone to and the art style, just replicating the existing X-Wing Miniatures game, is fantastic. There is about 30 sheets of tokens and special item cards you have to print out, cut out to play, including sort of modular space stations that you can put down with turrets and stuff. It's wow. It's just insane. It's just like, fan project done to the max. This is like up there with, like, I'm trying to think of a good, this is like they were like the Black Mesa project, I would say, as for sort of fan dedication to creating something and the quality that came out of it at the end. So I'm currently playing through this. I've got my intent to I'm going to put a review down soon. I'm not going to wait until we finish the whole campaign, and you'll be waiting until the end of summer probably. But yeah, I'm going to put together some notes and stuff about what we've done so far, and I can't recommend it enough. If you've got a board gaming group and you kind of like co-op games, and you also like the X-Wing miniature games, this is just like a marriage made in heaven. It's perfect. It's brilliant. So yeah.
Richard, do you ever play board games that aren't Monopoly?
Monopoly. I hate Monopoly.
Good man.
I don't play any other board games.
It makes me very upset sometimes because of where I work, and people come in and they get very excited by the 400 different varieties of Monopoly when they're next to all the other awesome, like, interesting European board games, and I'm like, and they're getting all excited. I'm like, you know, Monopoly's shit, yeah. It's really, a shit game. It's really shit. It's really shit. But you don't play any board games, Richard. You've never delved into the burgeoning geekdom of board gaminess.
I would say never. I kind of dabbled a bit as a child.
No, but I'm talking about adult board gaming, like Euro board games. You never done any of that?
Blood Bowl.
That doesn't count. That's Warhammer.
Ooh.
Why doesn't it count as a proper board game?
That's a proper adult board game. Blood Bowl. That's awesome.
I don't know. It's like Subutio. Would you call Subutio a board game? No, you wouldn't. But God, do I miss that? By the way, I just remembered that game also on my head. Man, that was the best thing. Love Subutio as a kid. That was so good. But no, I mean, like, no, I'm like Catan, like, and I don't know, Ticket to Ride and Formula D and X-Wing, like we were just talking about. You'd probably really like X-Wing actually, because you love your Star Wars and it's super easy to get into. And it's the kind of game you can play anywhere because it doesn't require a board. It just requires the miniatures and a few little things to show you movement. It's fucking amazing. Excellent. Really, really good.
I kind of feel like, because I like video games, that I can do that without all of the admin of carrying things around.
Well, board games there's a lot of video game applications. Yeah, all right. They should do something for those. They should do anything with those, frankly.
Yes.
Pretty pointless. But no, that's cool. And finally, Joel, you put Yooka Laylee on the list. I'm really excited to find out what your thoughts are on Yooka Laylee, actually, because I know Richard's a big 3D platformer guy, and I'm not. So we can have a really interesting debate here to close out the show, Joel. So tell us all about Yooka Laylee.
All right. So this was me jumping the gun on the and getting a bit excited based on my. So I backed this game on Kickstarter. And let me give you some background. I gave Ben a bit of background earlier, just before we started. But if you listen to the wrestling podcast, you'll know Mark, who does the wrestling podcast. So me and him are childhood friends, and we've known each other since I guess 4 or 5 years old. And when Banjo-Kazooie came out, the original, the game that this is, trying to pay absolute tribute to, the same people that they're going back and they're trying to make their own version of it that's different, just enough to avoid them getting sued. We were kids basically, and I can't remember. We must have been about 12 years old, and I was at secondary school at the time, and Mark got the game. It was on a Sunday, and he's like, "Oh, come over." So we went over Mark's and we started at 10 a.m. and he was playing one level, and then I would play another level, and this just went backwards and forwards until we continued until it was about 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning, and literally we were just on the verge of finishing the game. But because we had school the next day on a Monday, we had to go to bed and then get up an hour and a half later and go to school.
What's it?
And, literally we hammered this game, and it was brilliant. His mum loaded the room up with 24 cans of Coke and multi-packs of crisps and this huge jar of RWBY sweets. We were lazy bastards for the entire day, but it was absolutely brilliant. It's me and him always sometimes refer back to it as one of the greatest nights we've ever had when we reflect on our childhoods and stuff. So this game has great nostalgia value for me. I've been really looking forward to it, and I've been talking to Mark, and the plan is that we're going to get together and go through it again. But
another 24 cans of Coke.
Yeah. Try and relive that experience. So anyway, I backed it on Kickstarter, and I got this email this week basically saying, we're actually releasing the game's done. We're releasing the rewards to the Kickstarter backers basically. And in the email, it talked very much about how to go about claiming your reward, and it says those of you who've got the physical copy, it's probably already in the post, so you'll have it. It might be in your hands now. It might be tomorrow. And I was like, oh my god, I've got the digital code. So I go get the digital code, and I've got my code. I'm like, yes. So I had it to the notes that we'll talk about it today. And about 2 days ago, I put it into Steam, redeemed it, and realized that I can't actually preload it or download it or anything. It now shows up in my library list, but I can't do anything with it. And I was like, no, really hoping to play it. But anyway, it's setting me up for, I guess, hopefully I'll be able to put something out.
When is the release date?
11th of April. But I
Next
figured
week.
that, basically it's Tuesday, I think.
Yeah, sounds right.
Yeah, I actually thought that they just released it and we're going to let the backers go at it. So there are some people out there who've probably got physical copies now who are playing their way through it. And there's me sat here with my digital copy, just staring at my Steam library list, going, "Come on!"
That sucks. That really sucks. I'm going to. I'm going to
read the Jim Sterling review, and he's absolutely destroyed it. But then he wasn't a big fan of Zelda, so I don't know what I think of Jim Sterling's opinions.
I think it's spot on. His Zelda thing sounded perfectly accurate. He only gave Mass Effect Andromeda a 5, which is pretty much where I'd give it on a 10 out of 10 scale as well. So I don't know. I mean, I really dislike 3D platformers quite passionately. I pretty much hate 3D platformers. Yeah, I'm gonna go that far. They do nothing for me because I have no nostalgic value for any of them. And the main criticism for Yooka Laylee seems to be that there's a reason people don't make 3D platforms anymore, because they're boring. So and it's just this is the same 3D platformer you played when you played Banjo-Kazooie or Banjo-Tooie and stuff. So it's if that's what you want, then I imagine it's fucking perfect. However, if you're looking for some, I don't know, interesting innovation in the genre, you're not going to find that here. That sounds like. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I hope you enjoy it. I hope everybody enjoys everything. I'm that kind of guy. I mean, everybody should enjoy games. That's the thing. Actually, I had this experience recently where I started to delve back into internet gaming communities, a little bit on Reddit, a little bit on Facebook, a little bit on a couple of other specialist sites and stuff like that. And I've come to the determination that A, everybody's a miserable cunt. B, human beings are wankers. And C, I should never go back into a forum again. Because there's a reason we closed the ones on Bxb'S, because they were full of cynical, miserable wankers. So that's why we got rid of it. And frankly, that was the right decision. And it's just a cesspool of hate. Even in these communities that I've got more of a positive outlook, you still just get inundated with so much hate. Everybody always wants to tear down anything that you might like. You know, so somebody will post something like, oh, I played X, it was awesome. And then 12 people will be, nah, man, you're stupid. I played X and it was a pile of shit. You fucking retard. And it's just like, why? What does that bring to anything? To any discourse? Not like an intellectual debate. It's not like talking about the merits. It's just being negative or being like the whole reaction to the Scorpio specs. So much cynicism. You have no idea what this games will be for this yet. This is the very first part of the announcement. But because you've already decided, you know, this and that about Xbox or Microsoft or whatever, it's shit. It's awful. It's crap. We don't care. Fuck it. Fuck it. Burn them to the ground, you know? Don't you guys get tired of that? I get so tired of that.
I think you're right. I can't imagine what the forums would be like, our old forums in 2017. Christ,
well, there'd be 2 people posting about how everything's shit.
Yeah.
That would be all it would be. And it just it's the internet seems to have got a lot worse. But then again, I'm getting old, and I'm just probably seeing stuff that's always been there in a different way now, I suppose. But it just seems a very negative place around gaming at the moment, which is weird because there's so many awesome games on everything. Like, on every platform, from iOS to fucking Xbox, there are amazing games to play right now. So why can't people be happy about the awesome shit that's out there, you know? Why is it always just gravitate to the negative?
People playing them, like you said, they're all cunts.
Yep. Well, you've only got to look at the Gamergators, and there's like every opportunity to get on top of a fucking... To be horrible about a woman or a minority or a gender you don't understand or something. It's just like everything is getting so much hate. Anyway, I'm ranting and raving.
And so, just so I'm clear, that includes anyone listening to this. You're all
well, and it includes you, Richard, and it includes you, Joel, and it includes me. So, you know, there you go. So,
this is the Arseholes like Incorporated podcast now, is it?
Well, that's why I named the wrestling. Yeah. Because what do you think comes out of our mouths? So, you know, that was part of the reason. But no, on that positive note, I think it draws us to the end of this particular podcast. I didn't really think of that. I probably should have front loaded the miserable rant and therefore not ended it on such a negative. But there you go.
People wouldn't wait till the end then, would they?
Well, this is like a reward for making it all the way through the episode. I think that's what it's about. But just I dare you, just once a week, post something positive. This is to everyone. Just go online and put something positive out into the internet. I dare you. It would make everything so much fucking nicer if everybody just did that. Because like most of the nice people just don't say anything. That's the problem, isn't it? So you just get all you see is the negative, because that's what negative people want to do, is spread it. So it's just like, put one bit of positivity out there. I dare you. That'd be awesome. But on that, I think, we're going to come to the end here. Like I mentioned earlier on, is that I don't know about a lot of big releases like Yooka Laylee. Probably talk about that in a couple of weeks, Joel. I know we'll want to have a chat, and I'll just sit quietly and listen to him and Richard talk about how great 3D platformers are. And then I don't know what else is coming out. I think it's a bit quiet. Like I mentioned, Agents of Mayhem, but that's not until August. I guess I'll get further into Persona, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, and play some of that.
We'll miss Mario Kart on Switch. That's going to be just after next record, isn't it?
Is it really? Is it that soon?
Yeah, 28th.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that soon. I'm probably missing something really obvious and a massive release, but I honestly can't think of anything now. Because I think Persona was the last one that I was like, that's huge. But make sure you check out the Easter sale on Xbox, and I know the spring sale. Sorry, and I know Sony's got a bunch of stuff because it's some kind of anniversary for them, isn't it? Like the PlayStation Store's been around for so many years, so they're doing a bunch of sales on their digital storefront as well.
10 years since PSN. Something.
So lots of deals, and Steam. Has Steam already had its spring thing? I don't think it has it?
Steam's next one will be the summer sale, I think, won't it? Although they obviously have weekly bargains and stuff.
Yeah, and GOG actually has got a really good sale at the moment on some really well-regarded like indie PC games that have been big hits. I think it's the PC Gamer magazine have like curated the sale, and I picked up Big Pharma on that, which is like a pharmaceutical management game with a wry sense of humor and a bit of satire in there. Yeah,
I laugh because it's just like Big Pharma. I was expecting was just another farming simulator.
No, pharma as in pharmaceutical. Yeah. Slightly different. Adam talks about it. God, many podcasts ago now, but I've been meaning to speak that. But I got it for like that, and the expansion pack for like £6. Got super good deal on that, and I picked up Stellaris as well. So I'm gonna might try and carve out some PC gaming time. That game, I booted it up last night for the first time, right? I always do the thing where I make it as big as possible to see what the scope is, right? And I set up this galaxy, and it had 600 systems. Each system had a a fucking set of planets and stuff. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. Solar system was the word I was looking for. And it's just like that's insane. The scale on this game is ridiculous. So I might lose a few thousand hours to that.
Yeah, let me know what that's like, because that's been on my radar. And I think I mentioned before in one of the podcasts previously that someone's made an epic Star Trek mod for it as well.
Oh, have they?
Yeah. So if you're a fan of Star Trek and looking for something,
just a little bit.
It's kind of a little bit. The next generation of Birth of the Federation. If you ever loved that game, apparently
I'm gonna Google that as soon as we go off the air. Yeah. Yes. Now you're talking my jam. Birth of the Federation was amazing. I'm getting all excited now. Screw Persona, I'm playing that. Get my nerd on. Yeah, good times. Anyway, we'll be back in a couple of weeks, and I'm sure we'll find things to talk about. We always do. So I've been your host, Ben Hall. You can find me at DIYE on Twitter. Our top contributor this week, this episode, was Joel. You can find him on the internet, but namely on the website where he'll be reviewing Yooka Laylee and stuff. Say goodbye, Joel.
Bye, everybody. Arseholes.
Yeah, bye all you arseholes. Yeah, screw you arseholes. And our reviews editor, as always, and with his upcoming review very soon, I believe, for Fated the Silent Oath on PSVR, it's been Richard.
Thank you. I love you all, really. See you next time.
And the reason I'm doing this weird outro is because I just realized we didn't do intros. So now you get to know who we are as we say goodbye. And like I said, I've been your host. Please head over to bxbgames.co.uk to check out all our reviews for all the things we've been talking about. My epically long 15-minute video review of Mass Effect Andromeda is up there as well. And I would really recommend checking that out, obviously, because it's amazing. Worth
a watch to see Ben squirm. Get it watched.
I wouldn't say I squirmed. It's a bit weird. I did regretfully have to score it poorly. I guess that's squirming. Yeah, all right, fine. Fuck you. Please head over to iTunes and rate and review us, because that really helps with visibility. But obviously, people have been doing that because we're getting lots of downloads nowadays, which is really good. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with more Game Talk. Bye-bye.
Bye.